So, one of the key points, I think, about understanding Egypt is the fact that the ancient Egyptians understood these two parts of the duality. There's the manifest and the unmanifest. The unmanifest is the cause. The unmanifest precedes the manifest, surrounds it while it's manifest, and when it's done being manifest, the unmanifest is still unchanged. When we're here in the manifest world, in a way we're in what I call the three-dimensional, materialistic, dualistic, time-space prison. We're limited. It's like we're locked in a building and all we see are the walls. And it's like the story of all the men describing the elephant, and the one at the foot described the foot, and the one at the tail described a tail, and the one at the tusk described a tusk. Well, we're kind of like that, humans being in the earth plane. We just keep describing this physical 3D reality because we touch it, see it, feel it, our senses. It's our sensory input comes from this. But we have a quintessence. We have a sense that's beyond all these essences, all these material things. That is the spirit that connects us. Being in this reality and taking this reality as far as you possibly can, out to the ends of the solar system, the ends of imagination, the infinity, whatever the end of this reality you can imagine, and imagine a big balloon around that, somehow defining it. That's what I call the time-space bubble. It's what's manifest in this creation. And of course, outside of that is timelessness. Like the temple, the Ramesseum is called the temple of time and timelessness. There's in here and out there. Reality is outside of the time-space matrix. What's happened in here, what we call reality, is actuality. We have actualized these things that were spoken as vibration, have actualized by having molecules coagulate around them and being in physical form, being three-dimensional, and being here and being material. But that's not reality, because all of this that's physical will turn to dust someday, or do something else. I don't know what it'll do, but the point is, just look. I mean, why do you have to paint your house over and over? Things that are material wear out, you know. As someone who loves to preserve everything and keep things for 40 years, I can tell you it's the way of things. They wear out. They get lost, they get broken, they wear out. And the divine doesn't ever get worn out or broken or used up. It's just expanding. It's ever expanding. That's what's real. I also think it's very important to understand that the ancient Egyptians were not polytheists, that they were monotheists, that they understood that there was one great God, the Neteru, the God of gods. But as many religions have seen, God is a pretty big concept for us little creatures here. So we need to look at the parts of God and the different aspects of God. The Muslims have the 99 names of God, and you know, there's attributes of God. And so the Neters, what we call their gods and goddesses, they called Neters, which means divine principle, and or a symbol or personification of a divine principle. For example, a figure with a human body, showing it's relevant to you humans, it's got a human body, and some kind of animal head. Animal heads were often used to express the pure archetype of the principle that that netter is. For example, the jackal, Anubis, is the shower of the way through the underworld, because the jackal, the animal, the jackal, has keen homing instincts and can find its way home. So what better guide through the underworld than a jackal? So the Neters, when we talk about the gods and goddesses of Egypt, it's so important to understand that what we're talking about are the divine principles that they recognized. And why is this important? Why did they spend 3,600 years carving images of these principles on the walls? of temples and of tombs, and etc., carving statues and painting them, because they show us what that creator energy, the divine, really put here on earth. The divine put divine wisdom and intelligence, portrayed by Thoth. The divine put divine law, justice, portrayed by Ma'at, who has a feather on her head. The divine put Anubis, the ability to find our way home. The divine put Nekbet, the vulture, who eats carrion. Imagine what the earth would look like if there were no bacteria and animals that ate dead bodies. It would be horrible. We wouldn't have room to walk around. And so all of these netters are showing what the divine created here on life on earth. And this is becoming increasingly important as we start using artificial, synthetic materials. More and more, anything you go to buy, it's made out of a synthetic as opposed to a natural material. We're using up our natural materials. We're using up our trees. We're using up the oil. We're using up the metals. Someday it will be impossible for humans to remember what God's creation and the perfect natural cycles and balance that are contained in that looks like if we don't cherish and guard and preserve the symbols of what God put on earth. And that's what the netters of Egypt are. So these symbols, the gods and goddesses of Egypt, are like the crumbs of bread that the children left going into the dark forest so they could find their way out again. And I believe that nature is akin to the word netter. Nature is what God created here, just as the netters were symbols of what God created here, the divine principles. So this system, though very old and in a very different context, culturally, politically, historically, geographically, can be an instruction book for us to understand how is balance attained and what is real.